Am I the jerk for blowing up at my mother-in-law at a family dinner? I, 23 female, have been married to my husband, 24 male, for 3 years. We were high school sweethearts and have been best friends since elementary school. He's still my best friend to this day. I've never had a great relationship with his mom. She's difficult to talk to, and our conversations are usually very shallow, gossiping about neighbors, complaining about the landscapers, etc. Almost a year ago, my mom passed away, which still feels surreal to write. She truly was my soulmate, and I'm incredibly grateful to have had her in my life for 23 years. I miss her more than words can describe. My husband's family really stepped up during that time, supporting us financially with funeral costs and managing affairs when I was deep in grief. I'm genuinely grateful for their help. Fast forward to now, we're expecting our first baby. As excited as I am, also deeply saddened that my mom won't be here to guide me through this. We always talked about what my kids would call her. We had settled on Grams. Now to the incident, we were celebrating our pregnancy at a dinner with my in-laws, and my mother-in-law asked to make a toast. She laughed and said, "I'm so grateful to celebrate a new addition to our family. We can't wait to meet little Veronica," which is her name. She went on to talk about her own pregnancy and what I should expect, mentioning that my husband had an abnormally big head when he was born. Then she said, "I look forward to being the favorite grandma to Veronica, since of course I'll be the only grandma." The room went silent and I started to cry. I stood up and told her how incredibly insensitive it was to say that, and that my mom would always be a grandmother whether she's here or not. She responded by saying I was overreacting and that it was just a joke. I told her to go to hell and left immediately. My husband later called me saying he spoke to his mom, who was in tears because she was embarrassed. She asked him to apologize on her behalf, and he told me I should have come back instead of telling her to go to hell and storming off. I'm currently staying with my sister and haven't stopped crying since. She supports me 100%, but I really want to know. So am I the jerk? Update 3 days later. After staying with my sister for a few days, my husband came over. He said he understood why I was hurt, but felt I overreacted. He asked me to apologize to my mother-in-law to keep the peace, which felt like a betrayal. I had hoped he would stand up for me. That night, my mother-in-law sent a long text doubling down on her joke and saying my grief is becoming a burden on everyone. She told me I need to seek professional help and move on since it's been almost a year. I was devastated. I showed my husband, but he got angry at me for escalating things. He said I should make peace with her for our child's sake and that he didn't want to be caught in the middle. I've decided to take some space and stay with my sister. I'm really struggling to come to terms with this. This whole situation has made me question if my marriage is right for me and my baby. I need an environment where I feel respected and supported, and I don't feel that way right now. I told my husband that if he wants me back, he needs to show me he can stand up for me. I'm putting myself and my baby first. I don't know what will happen next, but I know I deserve better than this. My sister and I are currently turning her old office into a room prepping for Rosie's after my mom Rosa arrival. I feel truly blessed to have her support. Am I the jerk for taking my niece on vacation after her parents planned one without her? My niece 11 is the youngest child with 4 older brothers. She's also the youngest cousin, grandchild, and the only girl. Between that and the fact that she was very sick when she was little, she's a little spoiled by everyone except her parents. When she turned 11, she told her mom she wanted to go on a weekend trip with just her and her mom. Her mom made a big deal about her wanting to exclude her dad and brothers. They refused to do the trip and also didn't plan anything for her birthday, so I took her on her trip myself. Last month was one of her brother's birthdays. He decided that for his birthday, he wanted everyone to go to Mexico except for my niece. Her parents agreed that it was fair because if she wanted a trip without them, they can get one without her. They asked me if I could watch her for 10 days. My niece was so upset, so I decided to plan a surprise trip for her. I have some clients in Miami, so I arranged for us to go there for 5 days, drive up to Orlando for 3 days, then fly to New York for 2 days, where I also had to get some work done. It was technically a work trip, but I was able to plan a lot of fun outings for my niece. Just before their trip to Mexico, I told my niece's parents that I had to be in Florida and New York for work during their trip, but I could take her with me. Since it was so last minute, they had to agree as they didn't have any other childcare and couldn't miss this trip. She had a blast. We spent a day in Disney World, went to 2 Broadway shows, spent most of our time in Florida on the beach, did a lot of shopping, got room service for the first time, and our tickets were upgraded, so we flew first class on our way home. Her parents are mad that I spoiled her and undermined them, so I don't get to see her as much as I used to. I'm still their after-school childcare, so I see her a few days a week. And they're going around telling extended family that I took their kid across the country without permission because I was upset about her being punished for being rude. So am I the jerk for taking my niece on vacation after her parents planned one without her? Am I the jerk for telling my cousin that it's her own fault her husband isn't a good father? I, 27 female, I am one of the youngest cousins in my family. I am married, and my husband 28 male, and I have a child. All of my cousins are married with children, and we get together quite often. I think it's important to mention that we come from a country in Europe where men doing the bare minimum as a husband and father is accepted and expected. Unfortunately, a lot of my cousins are married to men like this, but I am not. Every time we have hung out, I am usually one of the only girls who never brings their child with them. And every time the same cousin, let's call her Jane, 36 female, will ask me, "Who is my kids with?" And every time I respond, "She's with her dad." Jane would then rant about how her kids can't stay with her husband without her husband calling her asking millions of questions, so she has to drag her kids everywhere. This occurs almost every time we all hang out. Fast forward to this past Saturday. We had another girls' night, and this time the cousin who was hosting asked that it be kid-free, as she wanted us to drink and play games. Majority of us came without our kids, but a few cousins brought their kids with, including Jane. My cousin who was hosting asked if those girls saw her text about no kids, and Jane sort of snapped and said her mom and mother-in-law weren't available to babysit, and her husband couldn't watch the kids. Because of some game that was going on, he was literally home and didn't want to watch his own children because of a game. Anyways, things were a bit tense, but we started playing games. Jane began asking everyone where their kids were, and all said they were with either their mom or mother-in-law. When I said my daughter was at home with my husband, Jane basically scoffed and said that she doesn't believe that my husband babysits our daughter and that I have my mom or mother-in-law's help. I said no, that is not true. I told her my husband doesn't babysit our daughter as he's not a babysitter, he's her father. He's being a father like he should be. Jane began to ask if he knew what he was doing, what she eats, what time her bedtime is. I sarcastically responded, "He better know or figure it out as it took two of us to make this baby." Jane then began rudely asking me why I have not once checked up with him to make sure my daughter is okay and to make sure he's doing things correctly. I told Jane that I don't need to do any of that as I didn't marry a loser like she did. I began to tell her that it's her own fault for allowing her husband to be an awful father and that she should stop taking her frustrations out on me and instead take that frustration and use it to get her husband to be a decent father. Jane called me a B-word and grabbed her kids and left. Since Saturday, she has left the GC and blocked me on everything. A few of my cousins said I shouldn't have said those things, but honestly, she's been asking for it for a while now, but I don't know, am I the jerk for telling my cousin that it's her own fault her husband isn't a good father? Am I the for being happy that my stepdad and stepbrother are scared my brother getting out of jail? I, 17 female, have a brother, Jonathan, 20. Our dad died 10 years ago. Our dad always told him to always look after your sister. After dad died, he took it more seriously and become even more protective. When our mother meets Sam, 48, 3 years after dad died, it became obvious that Sam and Jonathan weren't going to get on. For one, Jonathan is not someone who gives respect to someone who hasn't earned it. You have to earn it with him. Sam tried to come down on Jonathan, and every time Jonathan just rebelled. Sam's son James, 19, started fearing him after Jonathan overheard him mocking our dad dying and making me cry. To make a long story short, my brother knocked him unconscious. Now please don't assume that he is always a violent person. That was the first and last time he did that at home. After that, everyone walked on eggshells around him. If anyone so much as criticized me wrongly, Jonathan would give them the look, and they would immediately back off. Then when he and his friend were 18, they both got arrested and got jail time. When he was gone, it all changed. James started bullying me bad. I complained to my mother, but she refused to help. Sam also looked the other way. Then out of desperation, I tried to tell Jonathan what was happening. I miss him so much. My uncle came to visit and said Jonathan asking why haven't I been writing back, and that's when we found out my mother had been throwing his letters out. She admitted that Sam told her too. My uncle advised to let us write. She refused, even warned the prison, told them I'm a minor, so even if I did send one, they wouldn't let him receive it. All this time, and now my brother getting out in 2 weeks. He knows our mother wouldn't let us write, and she knows very well he's going to come home demanding answers, and she not saying much lately. I know she's scared I'm going to tell him that she let James bully me and did nothing. Sam and James know too, and they have changed. Being nice all of a sudden, and James is talking about moving, and when I mention my brother, they get this look of fear on their faces, and I'm glad. So, am I the jerk for being happy that they are scared? Edit. My brother went to jail for assault on James. He didn't. It was for a completely different incident. I'm not going to say what. It's not irrelevant. Just going to say it had nothing to do with violence. I also forgot to add that the house belongs to Jonathan. Dad left it to him, but he had to be 20 to get it. It passed into his ownership in February. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for daily Reddit stories. All rights belong to the original author. This video is for narration or entertainment purposes only.